Here we have one of the most underused resources for development and configuration, which is the AWS CloudShell. If we take a look here, you can toggle it on and off in any of the console user interfaces. Now, let me show you a few of the things here that are interesting. You can see that I deactivated a Python virtual environment. So if you wanted to, for example, automatically get a particular set of Python code to load, what you could do is you could use VI here, and you could look at your bash RC file, and you can actually activate a Python virtual environment automatically every time you actually log into a shell. So this can be pretty helpful. So if I went through here, for example, and I typed in source tilde bash RC, you'll see it now loads this Python virtual environment. So what this means is that if I wanted to install, for example, Boto 3, I could easily install Boto 3 and start developing against it. Now that by itself is actually pretty cool, but another thing you can do that's shell based, and let's go ahead and deactivate this, is that I also can programmatically talk to other resources, like for example DynamoDB. And one of the things I could do here is actually create a new table. You can see that there are no tables here currently. If I wanted to programmatically create one, let's go ahead and paste the command inside. And we can see here, AWS DynamoDB, create table. I create a table called customers. And then all I need to do is do the return. And what this is going to do is allow me to programmatically start building stuff via this CloudShell environment. So this is very handy as a kind of quick way to programmatically control things, because AWS, you also have a command line tool based SDK. And so then if I wanted to do things like list tables, for example, I could type in AWS DynamoDB list tables. And this really is a very efficient way to get started when you're developing, is to kind of go back and forth and actually put this stuff inside of this CloudShell and just test your ideas out. In many cases, it's going to be much quicker than clicking through the GUI and doing all the things you're doing, and even in many cases, quicker than developing it in code. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at one other trick we can do that I'll close with, which is if we go back into the bash RC file, if you find yourself doing a lot of commands over and over again, what you may want to do is type in these aliases inside of your bash RC file. And this will happen that it'll load automatically every time you open up your shell. So we can say here that we're going to do an alias called scan table. And what we can do is just put in this command. So we can actually type in AWS DynamoDB list tables. And actually we want to change it to not be scan table. We want to do list table. And let's go ahead and save this. And let's do a refresh here. So we'll say a source tilde bash RC. And now if we type in list table, notice that it actually shows up automatically, auto completes, right? And as well, if I type in alias, it'll actually show up here as well as one of the aliases that's available. So if we go ahead and run that, we just type in list table. Now we can actually list the table automatically. So there are a lot of really key innovations that you can put inside of your workflow by creating aliases inside of the CloudShell environment. And as a developer, in some scenarios, this actually might be the most efficient way to develop against a service on AWS.